Do you think we'll need extra security for Chimaev versus Strickland? Absolutely. I got to be honest. I don't know if I trust those two enough to put them together before the fight, because I think they might start fighting. They seem to hate each other, and those are the things that fights are built on. Sean don't necessarily like anybody, but Khamzat just wants to smash people, beat them up, take them down, overwhelm them to the point that they can't do anything. We're going to need some extra security for this fight.
I'll tell you the fight that I'm really looking forward to, because I don't know what's going to happen, is Khamzat versus Strickland. I'm very interested in that fight. Strickland is a fucking nightmare standing up.
For sure.
He's a nightmare.
For sure.
What he did to Fluffy Hernandez, I was like, holy shit, man.
The body shot, the finish. But he made Fluffy fight. You know, he fights at a slower pace. He has his own pace in there, and he kind of forces the other guy to fight. His opponent has to fight this pace with him. I think the best chance is to blitz him, do unorthodox things, because he wants to jab, circle, throw a kick, jab, circle. He keeps a very slow pace. He's not sprinting or trying to blast you out of there. He just chips away, high guard, good shell.
Yeah, very good shell. His defense is extraordinary. Man, that motherfucker doesn't get tired in there.
Right.
And the Fluffy fight was like, I thought Fluffy was going to be a problem. I'm like, Fluffy's really good, man. You think he submitted Adolfo Vieira. He's got all this fucking crazy cardio. He puts a pace on guys, and Strickland made it look like he just did not belong in there.
I just can't imagine Strickland being a boring fight. And I guess I could, because Khamzat could be that dominant, could put him on his back, and Strickland not really wrestle up because he don't want to get in the front headlock. He doesn't want to give his back. Just kind of lays on his. I don't know, but it's definitely possible this is going to be a similar fight to DDP. But I feel like Sean's going to make it fun.
And against Chimaev, we've seen him when he has faced adversity, and while he has been able to pass those tests, it still does seem to fatigue him and confuse him when he is in those situations, because he's so used to being the hammer and not the nail. Again, I think that from a matchup standpoint, it's going to be really interesting to see, really, like I said, the first couple of minutes of this fight, to see if Chimaev is able to implement his game plan, because if not, I think it's going to be a really interesting fight, and a fight that Sean Strickland can win despite the long odds.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility Khamzat just goes out there, takes him down, and dominates him, right? So we're going to see where he's at. But the other thing with Sean Strickland is he's a pretty big dude. We know Khamzat sort of, with cardio-wise, even with DDP towards the end, he was pretty tired. And Sean Strickland's cardio is through the roof, right? Like, he's go. And he's going to, if you're standing with him, he's going to take up that octagon. He's going to push you back. He's so tiring to fight against when it comes to everybody in the division, right? It's just hard to fight him. So if it's really going to test Khamzat's cardio, if it's standing for a couple of rounds even, to see where he's at. I feel like it's going to answer a few questions for us if Sean can stop these takes.
As far as how I think the fight plays out, I do think Chimaev wins. I think Strickland, I mean, he had lightning in a bottle against Israel Adesanya. You know, he's capable of pulling off an upset. We've seen that before. I just think Chimaev is, I don't know if anyone beats Chimaev right now. And that includes Imavov. I don't think Imavov is going to beat Chimaev either. I think Chimaev is just going to continue to get those takedowns, going to continue to put pressure on. I wonder, though, can he finish Strickland? I'm not sure. He wasn't able to finish DDP. And again, I thought DDP and Strickland were kind of neck and neck when you saw those matchups. I know every fight's different as far as the styles go, but I think Chimaev might end up winning a decision here. I don't think it's going to be a quick finish. I know he's threatened Strickland and saying, you know, like, it's going to be a quick win and all that stuff. You know,
I don't believe that's happening here, and let me explain why this situation is so significant right now. The UFC has officially confirmed one of the middleweight division's most anticipated matchups. When I say anticipated, I mean this has been building momentum for quite some time. Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev is now set, and it's already generating enormous buzz throughout the fan base, expert analysis circles, and fighter community. This pairing carries genuine backstory between both competitors. Real animosity exists here. Beyond that, you have this compelling stylistic opposition between stand-up striking and ground control that creates tremendous intrigue from a technical perspective. Due to this blend of personal conflict and contrasting fighting approaches, numerous experts have begun offering their forecasts, examining every conceivable aspect of how this encounter might unfold. Here's an in-depth examination of what boxing world and other combat sports voices are projecting regarding how this battle will actually develop when these warriors finally meet inside the octagon.
Marvov, I know Marvov beat Kyle Bohaya, but when you look at it, Strickland's already beat Marvov. Yeah, it was a while ago, but a win's a win. And he just put a beat down and a stoppage on Fluffy, right? Marvov beat Kyle Bohaya, by decision. And we all know this sport's about what have you done for me lately. There is a backstory between Chimaev and Sean Strickland. They have trained with one another. There's a bit of shit talk. There's going to be bad blood. We know that the lead up to the fight will be goddamn insane, right? Chimaev doesn't hold back. He talks shit, but in a kind of reserved way, but like he truly believes in himself. And Sean Strickland is just going to go on the full offensive. We know that. We know that. He's going to be talking some crazy shit. Dana even joked about it on the little show that we did there. He said they're going to need extra security for that fight during the fight week, leading up to the fight, after the fight, in the fight. It's going to be a mad one because Sean Strickland doesn't hold back. And you know what? Even if you don't like the shit that he says, you have to appreciate the entertainment value that he brings to the table. And then on top of that, the performances inside the octagon. That one against Fluffy, that was a different Sean.
John O'Malley approached this like an endurance puzzle. His breakdown becomes particularly compelling here. He discussed Khamzat's ability to secure early takedowns and dominate with that crushing top control. However, repeating this process continuously across multiple rounds creates complications where conditioning becomes crucial. Should Strickland consistently return to his feet, showing relentless determination to stand after every takedown, that begins depleting Khamzat rapidly since those wrestling exchanges demand enormous energy expenditure. O'Malley mentally walked through potential fight developments without making definitive declarations, demonstrating how evenly matched this contest appears. He imagined early rounds favoring Khamzat through extensive ground control and accumulated punishment. Then Strickland gradually gaining momentum once intensity decreases and takedowns become less frequent due to depleted stamina. He's not declaring this outcome inevitable, but rather outlining the realistic scenario if Strickland emerges victorious. Rather than offering clean, confident predictions either direction, he acknowledged uncertainty since everything hinges on whether Khamzat maintains dominance across 5 complete rounds. This represents a valid concern nobody can definitively answer yet.
In that aspect, Sean Strickland has great cardio. He's going to show up ready to go. The question is, can Khamzat keep the pace of... He kept the pace against DDP, but he was able to take him down early and literally hold him down the whole time. That is fatiguing. He was able to do that. But what's more fatiguing is taking someone down, they get up. Taking someone down, they get up. You took him off 3-4 times in a round. That's going to start to wear on Khamzat. If Sean can get up, and that's going to be the question mark there. I feel like Khamzat's going to be able to get a hold of him. He's going to be able to take him down. But is he going to be able to do that over and over and over? Is he going to be able to finish him? I don't know. I think, what would be absolutely epic is if Khamzat took him down first round, second round, beat his ass a little bit, and then Sean Strickland kind of started stuffing the shots in the third, and then started piecing him up in the fourth, and Strickland got it done. It would be fucking sweet. But we just saw Charles versus Max. Charles dominated. I mean, it's weird when you think of Charles, you don't think of like super great wrestler. A lot of his takedowns kind of come from body locks and trips from the body lock, which is wrestling.
He also highlighted another consideration worth examining. This bout might represent another classic scenario where elite wrestling overwhelms someone unprepared for this specialized approach at championship level. He drew parallels to situations where fighters excel in striking exchanges, displaying technical proficiency and danger on their feet, but encounter absolute grappling specialists who completely transform the fight's entire dynamics. There's genuine potential for Khamzat to repeatedly secure takedowns and claim victory through positional dominance and ground control, despite potentially disappointing casual observers seeking explosive striking battles. This explains his reluctance to confidently select a clear winner, recognizing legitimate possibilities for either outcome depending on wrestling exchange effectiveness, Strickland's takedown defense success, and whether Khamzat sustains that intensity and pressure across 25 minutes.
Great wrestling, but Max had never really fought like a super high-level wrestler. Are we going to see the same kind of thing play out where Khamzat takes him down and it's kind of the same fucking thing?
I'm extremely excited for this matchup. Final prediction. Don't possess one since there isn't one available yet, man. Chael Sonnen raised something rarely discussed publicly, providing crucial context. He describes Strickland's appearance during serious gym training behind closed doors where authentic preparation occurs. He doesn't present an intimidating physical presence externally that commands immediate respect, but when engaging directly, when actually grappling with him, he proves incredibly difficult to take down and even more challenging to control once grounded. This isn't simply a straightforward wrestler versus striker matchup in the basic framework people commonly present. Sonnen also questioned assumptions that Strickland obviously surpasses Chimaev in striking exchanges, which many automatically accept. His argument centers on never witnessing Chimaev in extended striking battles against someone like Strickland, who maintains consistent pace and output across 5 full rounds. Therefore, assuming significant disparity in striking capabilities remains largely speculative, and we might underestimate Khamzat's stand-up skills, since we haven't seen him forced to utilize them extensively.
I was talking about, man, the first time you go with this guy, you think he's a wrestler. When you don't know anything about him, and you haven't met yet, and you just feel him, at the end of the workout, you think he's a wrestler. Trick has talked about how hard he was to take down, talked about he's even harder to keep there. And it's a very interesting concept. I mean, Drickus went as far as to say that he thinks that Sean's got a very good chance in the fight, and he said in a stand-up realm that Sean is much better than Chimaev. Now, I would challenge Drickus on that, but I would challenge him very respectfully, like as the former champion who's been in the ring the better part of 75 minutes with these guys. He has the right to his opinion, but it did surprise me. Like, what do you mean meaning Strickland? What do you mean he's meaningfully better in the striking than Chimaev? Where did you test Chimaev in the striking? I haven't gone back and watched that fight, but I was at that fight. I don't remember that.
His most significant addition, something potentially affecting fight outcome, involved Khamzat's psychological aura and its mental impact. He essentially stated many fighters appear completely invincible until someone actually engages them directly, absorbs their power, and discovers their mortality. Once you've trained with someone, shared sparring rounds, and experienced their abilities firsthand, that mystique diminishes and intimidation lessens. If Strickland has already logged training time with Chimaev during camp sessions, that fear factor changes entering the actual competition. This matters significantly in contests like this, since it completely alters pressure responses, engagement willingness, and whether fighters perform tentatively or confidently from opening moments. These are complete fighters, and I'm simply raising questions here.
These guys have fought. There's something known as a mask. There's something known as a mask, and it's true in all of sports, but you really feel it in combat. And the mask is the aura. Mike Tyson wore the mask. Anderson Silva wore the mask. Where guys would buckle in the back. There was just this aura around this guy. He was invincible. If he touches me, he's going to knock me out. This guy's so good, he could put me on his finger and spin me around, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing until you get in there and you feel him. And a lot of times when it's done, you go, boy, I wish I could do that again. I could have done better.
Denis Skaradov stated this fight won't develop into some complex 5-round puzzle that gradually reveals answers. Solutions emerge immediately when Khamzat Chimaev attempts his initial takedown during opening exchanges. If Sean Strickland successfully defends or delays this attempt while keeping action standing early, that immediately shifts the entire fight's trajectory and forward momentum. He mentioned something overlooked regarding Khamzat's evolution. His striking has genuinely transformed. These aren't just setup shots and light touches disguising takedown entries anymore. He's throwing with legitimate confidence and appearing genuinely threatening while hurting opponents standing. Therefore, if exchanges remain upright even briefly, Strickland doesn't automatically enjoy safety or the massive striking superiority everyone assumes. Simultaneously, Strickland's approach remains steady and consistent. He continuously presses forward, building cumulative pressure round after round without pause. If nothing disrupts him early, if Khamzat fails establishing quick dominance, that relentless tempo becomes seriously problematic as competition extends into championship rounds.
There's only going to be one way to really know how it's going to go. And like he said, it's going to be in those first 3 minutes when Khamzat goes to that takedown. If Sean Strickland is able to stop him and is able to keep this fight on its feet, even for periods in this first round, it's going to be a huge, huge deal, right? The other interesting thing is going to be just being able to see what it's like, you know, for Khamzat, if it is standing, to stand with Sean Strickland, because obviously I feel like he has found his confidence, AB, when it comes to his striking, right? Like before there was a lot of teeps, there was a lot of jabs, but with Fluffy, like he was loading up that right hand, landing it at will. He looks like he's really come along when it comes to his confidence and how dangerous his strike.
Aaron Braunstetter identified something fascinating about Khamzat's fighting approach we've glimpsed in previous contests when encountering genuine resistance. When immediate dominance doesn't materialize, he can decelerate and appear uncomfortable compared to his typical controlling performances. He expects complete control from opening moments, so when that control disappears, when opponents force him to earn every position, it drains him physically and mentally while creating messy, uncomfortable situations. Dennis contributed balanced perspective, acknowledging legitimate possibilities that Khamzat secures early takedowns and controls everything thereafter, making the fight appear completely one-sided like previous dominant showings. However, their most intriguing discussion angle remained conditioning and size disparities across 5 rounds. Strickland brings significant divisional size, constant forward movement, and championship round endurance. Should this develop into multiple standing rounds or failed takedown sequences where Khamzat shoots without finishing, it tests him beyond anything we've witnessed in his UFC tenure, pushing him into uncharted territory where his responses remain unknown.
And against Chimaev, we've seen him when he has faced adversity. And while he has been able to pass those tests, it still does seem to fatigue him and confuse him when he is in those situations because he's so used to being the hammer and not the nail. Again, I think that from a matchup standpoint, it's going to be really interesting to see, really, like I said, the first couple of minutes of this fight to see if Chimaev is able to implement his game plan. Because if not, I think it's going to be a really interesting fight and a fight that Sean Strickland can win despite the long odds.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility Khamzat just goes out there, takes him down, and dominates him, right? So we're going to see where he's at. But the other thing with Sean Strickland is he's a pretty big dude. We know Khamzat sort of, with cardio-wise, even with DDP towards the end, he was pretty tired. And Sean Strickland's cardio is through the roof, right? Like, he's go, 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 go. And he's going to, if you're standing with him, he's going to take up that octagon. He's going to push you back. He's so tiring to fight against when it comes to everybody in the division, right?
Eric Nixick further clarified that Khamzat's grappling methodology isn't chaotic, rushed, or reckless like typical aggressive wrestlers. His approach proves methodical and systematic, almost chess-like in execution. He maintains controlling positions while systematically exhausting opponents, dismantling them incrementally. He anticipates your reactions before you recognize them yourself, reading responses and eliminating escape routes before execution. This explains his emphasis on forcing constant restarts rather than allowing comfortable position establishment and rhythm development. Once dominant positions are secured and rhythm established, fights become completely lopsided survival situations until round conclusions. The strategy transcends simple defensive tactics and submission avoidance, actively disrupting his rhythm while preventing comfort or settlement into preferred positions where his best work emerges.
He's very good at his routes, and we call them pit stops. Like he's gonna stay in half guard until that position expires itself. He's not gonna rush from position to position to try to. He's not gonna gain points. This is in a jiu-jitsu match. It's like, oh, if I'm in side control, I get 2 points. If I'm here, I get 4. If I take this, it's not like that. So for him, it's more about advantageous positions for ground and pound, and then forcing you to your next position. And then he knows prior what your options are, you know? So it's like, hey, if I have him in this split and pin, I know he could only go belly down, so I'm going to be ahead of his next route. So he's very systematic with his grappling. And I think that's the kind of the puzzle piece that we have to solve is how do you make him restart that process over and over.
He mentioned another tactical element. Bodywork plays crucial roles here, not just general game planning or midsection damage, but confusing level changes and creating takedown hesitation. For instance, exclusively targeting the head with power shots might invite easy takedowns due to high positioning and shot vulnerability. However, consistent body attacks slow the entire process while creating shooting hesitation as he anticipates incoming strikes. This represents long-term strategy rather than immediate round 1 changes, accumulating over time by reducing explosiveness and shooting willingness as fatigue develops. Obviously, maintaining explosive pace indefinitely proves impossible.
Plan, but we haven't really seen people really land to Khamzat's body before. They haven't really targeted that area before. Do you anticipate we might see some shots going more in that area in this one?
I think you have to, especially when you're fighting a good wrestler with a level change and a great blast double. Owning the midline is very, very important, meaning from the chest down to the belly. I think that is very important for a guy. If he's going to change levels, he's going to change levels into a strike. So if you're overthrowing your punches, you're throwing big hooks and overhands, that you're just inviting yourself to be taken down. So the body element is for me, one of my favorite things anyway, no matter what, but especially when you're fighting a good wrestler, you definitely need to.
James Lynch concentrated heavily on the UFC's promotional reasoning behind this matchup from business perspectives. He explained that despite some believing Nassourdine Imavov deserved title consideration based purely on rankings and recent victories, the UFC clearly evaluated broader factors beyond next-in-line protocols. He noted Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland's shared history from All-Stars training in Sweden, plus extensive public exchanges through social media and interviews. This existing tension and background creates self-promoting buildup without manufactured drama or artificial storylines. For actual predictions, Lynch favored Chimaev primarily due to relentless pressure and elite wrestling he delivers consistently. He acknowledged Strickland's proven ability to deliver massive upsets, like his shocking victory over Israel Adesanya that stunned the MMA world. Nevertheless, he considered Chimaev a more challenging stylistic matchup for Strickland's specific abilities. His reasoning centered on Chimaev's continuous takedown pressure and positional control threats, gradually wearing down Strickland while accumulating damage and scorecard control time. This contest ultimately reduces to one simple question determining everything. Can Strickland maintain standing exchanges long enough for his style to function and build volume? Or will Khamzat drag it groundward where he typically dominates and renders opponents helpless? If Strickland successfully defends early takedowns while maintaining steady striking pace, forcing Khamzat to work extensively for each attempt, the fight's complexion could dramatically shift as Khamzat tires while Strickland remains consistent. However, if Khamzat secures ground control multiple times, even 2 or 3 successful takedowns with extended dominance, that might suffice for complete fight control on judges' scorecards. This matchup truly depends on that critical battle between takedown defense and relentless wrestling pressure. Whoever wins that exchange probably claims victory. Share your predictions for this absolutely massive middleweight showdown.